Alrighty, welcome back everybody. I am Marcus Drake, and we are continuing on with Tales of Arise. Last time we had a lot of exposition, not a lot of combat in the last one, as we found the ship, made our way towards Lenegis, talked with everybody here, found out Shion was just trying to die, and we fixed that problem. Yeah, so now we're on our way to Lenegis. If you wanted to catch up, most of the stuff is on YouTube, so if you want to check that out, there's the link for my YouTube as well as everything else. Yeah, we're just going to keep on going.
Is everyone about ready? We'll soon be making preparations to land.
Before we do that, just what exactly should we expect when we get down there?
Kisara has a point. Now that I think of it, I don't know the first thing about Lenegis.
I'd like to hear more too. It's been centuries since I was last there, and they didn't exactly give me the grand tour.
He's not wrong.
Very well. First and foremost, Lenegis was the base of operations in charge of the crown contest on Dana. Of course, it also happens to be a city in its own right, complete with its own independent society. Its social structure is based on a strict hierarchy. Put simply, the strength of an individual's astral arts carries great weight.
Enough to determine someone's social rank, you mean? But astral arts are innate, right? So people's positions are fixed at birth.
Professor, thank you so much for the lurk. I appreciate you being here. Same thing with everybody else. Hopefully you guys are having fun.
Yes, that's basically the gist. As a result, family lines that churn out lords and their contenders wield disproportionate influence, and those lineages are treated as nobility.
Those capable of only weak astral arts are effectively an underclass, denied the right to descend to Dana even if they wanted to. Still, even the lowest rung on the Renan ladder is considered superior to being a Danan. Keep that in mind down there.
Thanks for the warning. As a lord, Dohalim must have been pretty high up in the pecking order, right? What about you, Shion?
Come on, you've seen her skill with astral arts. You really need to ask?
Yeah.
Fair point.
On arts alone, you're right. I'd have been sitting pretty. But you're forgetting my thorns. They weren't exactly an invitation to high society.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's refreshing to be around someone who says what they're thinking. Life's less complicated that way.
That's fair.
Jeez, give backhanded compliments much?
Wait a second. Are you? He is! Lost blushing!
I am not!
Of course, separating people into castes based on something arbitrary like arts is discrimination at its worst. As if such simplistic criteria could ever be a measure of someone's worth.
So this red woman, are we expecting to find her on Lenegis?
I would wager so. Lenegis is too
I'd be
deeply
surprised if we
involved in all
didn't.
this to discard the possibility. Chances are she's also connected to the Renans Alma being stolen from us in Pelagian.
If the Renans Alma is being used to exploit Dana, we need to take it back at all costs.
That red woman's got a lot to answer for. Just as well I've got a ton of questions.
We're about to land. The descent could be a little bumpy, so brace yourselves.
If there are clues about your thorns out there, Shion, we'll find them. There's no one here. I wasn't expecting a welcome mat, but still.
Lenegis's infrastructure is largely automated. Besides, people won't be expecting incoming traffic while the crown contest is still underway.
Do you think anyone realizes that we're here?
Probably
We may
not.
not have received a royal welcome, but I doubt our entrance went unnoticed. Don't let your guard down.
I really hope we don't have to fight anybody while we're here.
Wouldn't hold your
So
breath
now
on that
what?
one.
We've come all this way on a hunch that this red woman is here, right? And if we're lucky, the Renans Alma too. Any idea where we should start looking?
There is an area of the city that is accessible only to the Sovereigns, known as the Forbidden Zone. That seems as good a place as any for us to start.
That's fair. Logical.
Forbidden? What are they hiding?
I don't know, hence my desire to find out. Fortunately, we just so happen to have a Sovereign in our midst. In any case, changing the shape of a huge structure such as Lenegis would have required an immense source of power.
Then you think that source might have been the Renans Alma?
Makes sense.
Precisely. Alphen said that he remembered the Renans Alma being used in the spirit channeling ceremony 3 centuries ago. Whatever the ceremony's purpose, if preparations are underway for it to be held once more, then the Renans Alma might be in the same place as last time, possibly together with the Red Woman. Hiding something of that worth in the residential quarters would only court trouble. In which case...
It stands to reason we should be looking somewhere normally out of bounds. Is that it?
Indeed.
But it's been over 300 years since I was made a sovereign. You can't seriously think I'll be able to waltz right into the place after all this time.
There's only one way to find out. If there's even a chance you can get us in, I say we give it a shot.
Shion's right.
For those that have been here since I was doing Phasmophobia earlier,
Find a clue to
I
the
dropped
doors
in
while
some
we're at
crates
it.
for Dixper.
All right. It's not like we're swimming in
So the
rivers.
next time that you guys are here and I'm doing something like Dead by Daylight or Phasmophobia or any other spooky game, you can have some crates to
Beyond that wall lies a city full of Renans.
drop in.
Capital city where Shion and Dohalim used to live, no less. Who knows what we'll find on the other side.
This is how you can go back to the ship.
Thinking about what could be lurking out here is giving me the heebie-jeebies.
For such a loudmouth, you sure can be a worrywart at times.
Oh, I'm sorry. How stupid of me for wanting us to stay safe.
Did you two children stop squabbling? Or do you want everyone to know we're here?
She has a
So
point.
how many Renans actually live in this place?
I couldn't tell you exactly, though not as many as you might expect. Machines and Zoogles take care of most of the city's basic functions.
That doesn't surprise me.
There's Zoogles out here too, huh? Sounds like we can't afford to let our guard down after all.
Alright. Look around. Okay. Interesting. Looks like they've had some difficulties lately. Probably relating to the dramatic change done potentially by the Renans Alma. Or by the beast in the wedge being taken out.
What in the world?
This being Renan territory, I was prepared for a lot of things to look different. But this is a bit more than I anticipated.
The very foundations of the city have shifted. What could have caused this?
When Lenegis changed shape, it must have had an effect on the interior too.
Maybe when they sent the wedge down to Dana?
But they wouldn't move around the places where people live. These are their homes, right?
The woman in red may not have
The
cared.
citizens themselves didn't have much say in the matter. Either way, locating the Forbidden Zone just became that much trickier.
Because now it's moved.
Dohalim? Is that you?
Avakir, I'm glad to see you're well.
So it is you! But why are you here? Shouldn't you be down on Dana participating in the crown contest? And these people!
So you haven't heard what happened on Dana then?
Heard what?
Someone you know?
An old friend.
Hey, Dohalim, don't tell me you've started keeping company with...
They're with me. More importantly, what's happened here?
I'm really not sure. The city's foundations began to shift without warning, and now everything looks like this. We're all waiting for the Sovereign to tell us what's happening, but so far...
Avakir, listen to me. We're looking for the Forbidden Zone. Do you have any idea where we might find it?
The Forbidden Zone? What business could you possibly have there?
Trust me. The less you know, the better.
You're just the same as ever. I wish I could help, but what with the changed topography, I can barely locate my own home. Let alone the Forbidden Zone.
Very well. It looks like we'll have to find the way there ourselves.
Have you seen Faria yet?
No.
I see. Well, nothing much has changed with her. If anything, she's probably even more...
Who is Faria?
I can well imagine.
Why did you come back? You know it can only result in pain for you both.
I've no doubt of that.
You really are the same as ever. Fine, I understand. Just don't say I didn't warn you. And take care of yourself. Okay, Doe?
Interesting. He's not gonna want to talk about it though. Unless she comes in.
So who's Faria?
Oh, okay.
Law?
If what Avakir said is true, it would seem the people of Lenegis are being kept in the dark about what's happening down on Dana.
They seem to be just as clueless about what's going on up here in their own world. Despite the fact that it's actually here that the wedge originally came from.
We need more information. Let's talk to the citizens, see what we can find out.
While we're at it, we can ask them about the Red Woman, too.
And don't forget about finding the way to the Forbidden Zone either.
Let's leave the talking to Shion. We can't have a bunch of Danans poking their noses around.
Good idea. I think that's for the best.
I shall assist.
You sure?
Being a lord on Lenegis has its advantages.
Right. Then we'll leave it to you two. The Danans among us should probably keep our heads down.
What if people freak out?
I shall explain it away by saying I'm leading you.
What are we, dogs?
Blah.
It could be so important. It's worth destroying people's livelihoods and homes in the process. It's just unbelievable. Uprooting an entire city as if it were mere building blocks. Someone's got an awful lot of questions to answer.
From how it looks, they must be siphoning off astral energy from Dana, and then sending it to Rena.
But why do all this? What for? Surely they can't be using all that energy for the crown contest.
Whatever their purpose, disrupting their siphoning process alone won't be sufficient. Not while we still don't know what their endgame is.
He's right. We need to stop this from happening ever again.
This Forbidden Zone might be where we find some answers, right? So what are we waiting for? Let's get moving!
You heard him. We don't have time to stop and chat. Let's move.
Sounds good to me. Oh, Jesus, there's another one.
So, I've been wondering, do you think when Lenegis was built, it was even made with people living here in mind?
What do you mean?
Well, none of this happened by coincidence, right? They must have designed it to transform like this. But then, if they knew people were going to live here, you'd think they would have taken that into consideration to avoid all this chaos.
Ordinarily, yes. You'd think so. Trust me, as far as we were concerned, Lenegis was our home, nothing more. No one knew about all this. It makes you wonder whether the city was just built on as an afterthought. But if so, to what exactly?
Sorry. That probably sounded weird, huh?
Not at all. Sometimes it takes an outsider's eye to help you notice what you've been missing all along. This place is a mystery, that's for sure. Something tells me we'll find answers where we're going, though.
Yeah,
That's fair.
you're right, Shion. I'm sure we will.
May not be answers you're looking for, but you'll find some answers. Alrighty. Now that we're done running into people asking questions. Everything on Topsy in the residential quarter, there are lots of injuries. Stuff keeps dropping on people, and they're also falling down.
Oh, dear me. What an unspeakable mess this has all become. Just look at the state of our city. Even the Zugals have stopped heeding our commands. Whatever did we do to deserve this?
You really have no clue what might have caused this?
Would that I have. Alas, there was no warning, no prior decree. His Highness must have deemed it unnecessary for us to know. We have no
His
choice
Highness,
but to
so they
brave
knew that it
and
was Volron. Or at least
Do my eyes
suspected?
deceive me? Could I really be standing in the presence of his lordship, Dohalim of the House Ilkaris? I believed he was on Dana.
Your eyes do not deceive you. It is I, one and the same. I have returned to fulfill a special duty, the details of which I cannot divulge.
As your lordship wishes. First, Lenegus mutates beyond recognition. Now this unexpected visit. The Sovereign's plans are inscrutable indeed. The Ilkaris house has produced a great many lords over the centuries. I shall be praying for your victory in the latest crown contest.
Your
I don't
good
think he
wishes
has
do me an
that
honor.
same wish, but you know. You mean well. What this? Can you hear me? Please someone answer me. What's going on? Why can't I reach anyone? Because your city is kind of in tatters right now. That's neat to actually be able to watch them use arts outside of combat. You don't really see it outside of Shion occasionally using healing on people. Huh? Where am I? I just went out for a walk, but now I don't know where I am. I don't know. Everything's falling apart and looks completely different. I can't get a hold of Mother and Father either. You have nothing to fear, kids. I'm sure there's a reason for everything that's going on. But even the Zugals are out running loose. That seems dangerous. You're not wrong. The Zugals are nothing more than our servants. They may have gotten out, but I assure you I'll have them back under control before long. If you kids consider yourselves to be proud Renans, then be brave. We'll have the situation fixed before you know it. Somebody else using water arts to try to put things out. This person needs some healing, I'm seeing. In all my years, never have I seen such potent healing arts. Thank you so much for taking the time to help an old woman like me. Ooh. Fancy parfait recipe.
Everything will be okay now.
I know the basics of healing arts, but my skills pale in comparison.
Your lordship. Oh, what a great honor it is to finally meet you. I descended to Dana during the last crown contest also. Alas, when the contender I was backing failed to clinch the title, I returned. I witnessed the deaths of so many slaves.
Indeed.
Sorry to interrupt, but we're looking for a woman dressed all in red. Have you seen anyone of that description?
All red, eh? No, I can't say I remember anyone like that.
To be fair,
I imagine she'd stand out somewhat, too.
all of
Yeah.
the...
What about down on Dana during the crown contest? You didn't see anyone like that hanging around the lord you were serving?
What's with all these questions? I've never seen her, okay? Not recently or otherwise. Why do you want to find her anyway?
Never mind. Forget I asked. Sorry to take up your time.
All the Renans didn't really notice her before either, though. To be fair, I'm trying to remember if I remember seeing her. I haven't gone back. I kind of want to go back and watch. I enjoyed it now. I like RPGs. I have enjoyed playing this immensely. If you want to check some of it out, I have pretty much from the beginning up on my YouTube channel. So I have thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's got a lot of playtime to it. What I hate is spending $60 and then, oh hey, 3 hours later the game is done. I have 30 hours or so into the game, I think. And I'm still not done, plus there are side quests that I haven't touched. And for a completionist point of view, there's still a lot of stuff to do. So, I legitimately think it's worth it. I think that it is a well-made game.
Is everything okay? You look a little lost.
Hmm? Oh, yes. I can't seem to find my way home is all.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's...
Umpteenth attempt at a new route.
You sound like me, so you don't necessarily like the Souls-like aspect of games of, you know, oh hey, you have to beat your head against the same thing over and over again. Hate that. I've played some other games that are similar to that, like Code Vein, I think, was another one. I love the aesthetic of the game. Same thing with Elden Ring. Aesthetically, looks great, but it's not my style. But I thoroughly enjoy this.
Yes, strange, isn't it? If you know another route, we'd be grateful if you could tell us.
But of course. Please forgive me. There's a wall that sprung up ahead of here with what looks to be
like I said, if you wanted to see some of the
it was a passageway between the different quarters, but I've no way of knowing for sure.
Copy this real quick. If you wanted to check some of it out early on first to see if it's something that you would like,
go and assess the situation.
That's my YouTube channel, so thank you very much for the follow as well. We're getting close. What are we at? 181. 19 more for the next drinking stream. That will be entertaining. Getting close. I'm excited.
Thank you.
But thank you for the follow, Posty.
Well, we've canvassed the city for information. What do you think?
No one has the faintest idea what's happened to the city after all. They haven't heard the news about the crown contest either.
You'd think that info would easily find its way up here. Has it always been like that?
Not to this extent. Which would indicate that something's suppressing the truth. That Lenegis is under some kind of control.
Given everything that's happened to their city, the people here seem weirdly okay with it all.
Yeah. That one guy even said Zoogle would stop listening to him. If that's true, these people are in big trouble.
Everything that happens here is attributed to the Sovereign's will. It's the way people have been conditioned. Their belief runs deep. Nothing happens devoid of a reason. To them, it's all part of the Sovereign's grand plan.
The Sovereign...
Welcome. Oh, Jesus.
Welcome. You're welcome.
Welcome to my life. Posty, thank you very much for the sub with Prime. I don't have any challenges for this game. But next time I'm doing a game that I do have challenges for, so like Dead by Daylight, Elden Ring. That's the one we were talking about. Dead by Daylight, Phasmophobia, anything like that, let me know. And you can pick one of the challenges they have in there, and we'll see how that goes for me.
Come to think of it, I know nothing of the nature of how Rena itself is.
But I appreciate the sub, that's awesome.
Have you ever been... No, forgive me. Have you met or crossed paths with, or even heard of someone who's actually made a visit to the homeland?
No, I haven't.
Neither have I. In which case, I would imagine that... But no, surely not. Can it really be that no citizen of Lenegis has ever been there?
Hold up. What are you getting at, Dohalim?
Assuming what I believe to be correct, it's possible that no one on Lenegis has ever laid eyes on the actual Renan homeworld itself. No one but the Sovereign, that is.
But what about trade and communication? There's got to be a flow back and forth, surely.
Not if the Sovereign is imposing his will on Lenegis single-handedly. It could be a one-way street.
But I thought you said that the Sovereign's all the way over on Rena. If that's the case, can he really rule directly over Lenegis from so far away? What if something were to happen to the city, like now?
I'm beginning to wonder what the nature of this Sovereign even is. Alphen said he was forced into the role, right? Just before the ceremony. But Sovereign is also the title given to the almighty Renan ruler. So which one is it?
Whoever wins the crown contest inherits the throne from his or her predecessor, before becoming ruler over all of Rena and Lenegis. Thereafter, that individual is known as the Sovereign. Though, it would appear that the current ruler has gone silent.
Well, wasn't the
As
cool
for how
current
Volron
ruler Volron?
factors into all this,
Okay.
At this point, I no longer know what to believe.
3 centuries ago, I became the Sovereign here on Lenegis. No, not just became, I was forced to. Me, a Danon. 300 years later, we cross paths with Volron, who also bears the Sovereign's crest. That's not the only thing we have in common. We both became Sovereign without winning the crown contest.
Do you think Volron was made sovereign for the same reason? Because of that ceremony?
I can't say for sure, but it certainly sounds like it.
But that would mean that 2 sovereigns would need to exist at any one time. One whose job it is to rule, and the other for ceremonial purposes. We never did see Volron's body back in Ganath Haros. Is a new ceremony underway with Volron at its center this time? Could that be what's causing all this strange activity here?
Wait a second. You don't think Volron and the Red Woman are working together, do you? The ceremony can't go forward without the Renis Alma. The same one that the Red Woman stole.
There's something else the ceremony needs. A maiden. And unless there's another one out there aside from me...
The Red Woman?
Questions and yet more questions. Ones that it seems will remain unanswered until we can establish the Sovereign's identity.
If the Forbidden Zone really is off limits to everyone but the Sovereign, that seems as good a place as any to start. For the sake of liberating Dana, too.
Then it's decided. That's where we need to go.
One of the citizens mentioned a passage that she thought might lead to another section of the city. It could point us in the right direction. Let's go find it.
Sounds like a plan to me.
I didn't realize Renans oppressed their own kind, too.
And yet, weirdly, none of them seem to mind. Am I the only one who finds that strange?
It is the way things have always been, so no one thinks to question it. You have experience in that regard yourself, do you not?
Unquestioning acceptance of your own servitude. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Even so, the quality of life here seems much higher than any Danon city we visited. I used
That's
to think
true.
it was impossible to build an ideal society without wealth. But I suppose having it doesn't always mean people are treated fairly either.
More to the point, not a single citizen seems to have even heard of the Red Woman.
What if she's not here? What if it turns out we're looking in the wrong place entirely?
It's still too early to say anything for sure.
For all we know, she might be able to blend in, move around unnoticed. I say we hold off judgment until we've exhausted every avenue.
Tell me, Dohalim, has that skill of yours got a name?
And what skill would this be, pray tell?
You know, when you're talking to people around town. The way they suddenly become putty in your hands.
I'm afraid I don't quite follow.
I do. It's called friendly intimidation. Look imposing and speak in a deep, booming voice, and presto, you'll have people wrapped around your finger in no time.
I would never stoop to such scandalous tricks. Any feelings of intimidation are solely in the eye of the beholder.
So there is a knack to it. How do you learn it? Can anyone do it?
Now you've got me curious. Is there special training to master?
Let's see. An obsession with being elegant is a must. Oh, and it helps to be old-fashioned, too. Bonus points if you speak in a way no one can understand.
If you've a bone to pick with me, it'd be quicker to just come out and say it.
What? They look up to you, that's all. I'm just helping them along.
Hey! What's got into Alvin and Law all of a sudden?
I can barely understand a word they're saying.
Weird poses. Was it something they ate?
I hope you're willing to take the blame for this one.
I wasn't expecting them to take me so seriously. I'll go and have a word with them.
That's funny. That was very funny. But I wanted to turn to the right first.
With nobody left to run the show, I wonder what the people here are supposed to do.
This reminds me about the... Was it Ganateros?
I mean,
Volron's
their sovereigns
area?
up on the Renan homeworld, and all their lords were sent to Dana.
But Dohalim was a lord, right?
Only current acting lords have power. Renan society is quite strict about such matters.
As far as they're concerned, though, you're still active.
Even if the other lords were still around, I doubt they'd be able to do much about the situation.
I wonder what they'd think if they were here to see Lenegis now. Balsif, Cannabelt, Almadria, and Volron. Now that I think of it, aside from Dohalim, we know next to nothing about the other lords.
Well, yeah, why would we? To us Danans, they were just enemies we needed to overthrow. Nothing more.
I know. But seeing Renans in their own city, going about their day-to-day lives, it gets you thinking.
It feels strange to imagine the lords living here too, you mean?
Yeah, a little.
If you're that curious about them, why not try inquiring with some of the locals? Every lord in their household has their share of supporters here on Lenegis. And luckily for us, the people here are unaware of the events on Dana, which means they should be more inclined to talk to us.
So basically start digging is, you know, what you get to do here. Well, I'm not supposed to go there yet. You want to know which lord I support? Why, are you out canvassing for someone? I'm with His Excellency Erwolzi Teldilis. You probably know him better as Lord Balsef. I know a lot of people consider him to be a giant brute. Believe me, I realize he can be an aggressive man. What those people don't realize is how much he looks after the members of his house. It's fair to say that House Teldilis... Jess is back. Hi, Jess. Doesn't enjoy much esteem. Those who serve it will be the first to admit that.
Yes!
But His Excellency always stands up against any who would mean us harm. Of that, we can be sure. Just wanted to announce. You're still looking. Well, I appreciate that. Doing alright? His efforts in the crown contest not only for his family, but to improve the standing of each and every member of his house. And you wanted to scare me? That's fair. I don't expect it during this game. I should probably connect this game to Dixper one of these days. Just how you can use like the non... Like you can use the things that'll actually do something in here. Obviously the ones that affect buttons won't do a darn thing, but... I owe so much to His Excellency, I could never dream of serving any other lord.
Balsef had it in him to care about
Oh,
someone
fun.
other than himself? Really?
It's possible. A change in position can do much to alter one's perspective.
So even he might have had something he wanted to protect.
Interesting that they're having you go back and learn about some of the other people. Rude, you're not supposed to encourage this. Lord Dohalim, you have returned! Ah, and I see you've brought aides with you. Do you remember who I am, my lord? Surely you must, yes? Not only do I support House Elcaris, but more specifically, his lordship personally. So much so, I'm trying to share my appreciation of his lordship to anyone who will listen. In fact, I was planning to publish my extensive writings on the subject through this very terminal for all to read and enjoy. But since the lines appear to be cut due to the recent tumult, I've been unable to upload them. Wow. Dad's got his volume up a little bit then. I know, since you're all here, I'll just read them aloud. There exists a most handsome man, a man who radiates beauty, whose every word, every syllable is divine poetry. Probably, yes. He hails from the famed House Elcaris, and his name, Lord Dohalim. Music is his passion, the arts his great love. The scores of boorish, uncouth men of this land cannot begin to compare to his magnificence. So refined and majestic is his posture, why the mere thought of it brings me to ecstasy. Once he becomes our sovereign, Renans shall bloom anew, ushering in an era of prosperity for all our grand civilization. Until that glorious day comes, I shall forever be praying for his victory, morning, noon, and night. Well, what did you think, my lord? I poured my whole heart into it, hoping to capture your essence. Wait, I forgot to mention anything about his lordship's love for collecting things. I must take this time while the lines are down to append it. Only then will my masterpiece be complete. Well done.
I guess she intended to spread it throughout all of Lenegis then.
Good thing the lines were down so she couldn't.
It sounded like she was praising them too.
Maybe there was more to the guy than at first glance.
I shall refrain from commenting.
Considering it was about you, probably a good call. Well, I never. To think anyone would try to tear me away from House Valkyris.
What?
What do you want? Don't tell me you work for Lord Dohalim or the dreadful Lord Almidria, do you? You don't? Well, don't scare me like that. To answer your question, I come from a family that has served House Valkyris for generations. I believe that's, shoot, Cislodia. Yep, Ganabelt. Indeed, I'm doing all I can to support Lord Ganabelt behind the scenes so that he might emerge victorious. Many think him to be a cruel man, but I insist they're utterly mistaken. Though I won't deny he can be strict, he puts Rena's interests front and center like no one else. Why, he advocates that rather than stay confined to Lenegis, we should get on with colonizing Dana to expand our horizons. That way we become masters of both worlds and overturn our current minority status on Dana's surface. That is why he seeks to become our next sovereign. Tell me, is there a greater, more noble ambition than that? I think not. It is a pursuit of power for the very advancement of our kind. It is what makes him an exemplary lord, a model above all others. Though I was unable to accompany him myself, my two sons have been blessed with the honor of joining him on the surface. As their father fills me with endless pride.
Ganabelt was so horrible to people. Yet he was invested in helping Rena succeed. Doesn't that seem just a little inconsistent?
I'm perhaps biased in this matter, I admit. However, in my mind, while all lords vie to become the next sovereign, they're also meant to serve as guardian.
Make sure there's nobody showing us back here. Doesn't look like it, so yeah, we're just gonna go forward.
It seems like Ganabelt also had people he cared about until the very end.
So why couldn't he extend that to us Danans?
To be fair, none of the Renans seem to do that. So we haven't seen anybody for Almidria or Volron.
Damaged as that other district we went through.
Indeed, the effects of Lenegis's transformation appear to be less pronounced here. Or, viewed another way, this area was simply luckier.
True.
Pardon me.
This area falls under the sole jurisdiction of House Caenaris. I must ask you to depart at once. This must be Almadria. Surely you don't claim to be ignorant of our famed house, ruled over by the esteemed Lord Almadria? Yeah. If so, I urge you to listen well. In fact, I bid you listen carefully regardless. Have you ever noticed how in the history of Lenegis, only a few women lords have emerged to compete in the crown contest? Many have theories as to why this might be, but Lord Almadria quashed the doubts of any naysayers through sheer might. In fact, not only did she usurp her father and previous family master, she also removed her older brother to claim the seat for herself. She is a woman who stops at nothing to get what she wants, who gives her enemies nary the slightest opening to strike. Truly, Lord Almadria is a woman of talent. No one in all Rena better exemplifies the virtues of our nation's meritocracy. Outside of the fact that, you know, she killed a whole town. Just by making them angry. Soon the age of a glorious woman sovereign reigning over Lenegis shall be upon us at last. Sorry.
I guess the
She's,
willingness to stoop to any low came from a survival of the fittest worldview.
And some people here not only shared her belief, but championed it as morally right too.
That doesn't make it true. Too bad they couldn't see through her.
Yeah.
Or, you know, see the fact that she's a little deceased now. But, you know, I wasn't going to burst that bubble.
Ridiculous.
How loathsome. Wait, before you say anything, who have we not? Oh, Volron. He's the only one that we haven't seen anybody for. Oh, I was reading about Volron. Can I help you?
Okay.
I was always an ardent supporter of Lord Erwigil Hildress myself. Were it not for his sudden death down on the surface, I likely still would be. In my eyes, Lord Erwigil is the true Water Lord. I don't believe for a second that he perished in some accident, like they say. As for how Volron runs Ganitaros, don't get me started. I hear he enslaves not only Danans, but even his fellow Renans. We may live in a society where to the victor go the spoils, but his actions go against what we, as a people, stand for. Besides, just what sort of family line is this House Ignaceri of his anyways? I'd never heard of it until he came along, which means that they must be among the lowest dregs of society. That such an ignoble lineage could suddenly produce an astral artist capable of ascending to lordship is unheard of. None of it makes any sense, not to mention all of the upheaval around here of late. What is happening to our people? So he was the person before Volron.
People on Lenegis don't really know much about Volron either.
I remember being quite surprised when the Lord of Ganith changed so abruptly.
Didn't you have any doubts that something suspicious was going on?
On the contrary, remember, we Renans are raised to accept everything at face value.
Okay.
When you think about it, the families of Renan lords must see them differently than the rest of us.
Probably.
Yeah, despite the brutality they're known for.
They must have had a lot on their shoulders, carrying all the weight and responsibilities of Renan society.
Renans live in a world where strength and power determine their position in the social hierarchy, so they tend to grow up fiercely competitive. But their loyalty to their people is also strong. It's what brings them together against outside forces, and nothing exemplifies that more than the Lords.
That's what makes them the guardians of all of Rena, so to speak.
Right. It's the same reason Balsif hated my guts, and Ganabelt went after you, because we're threats to Rena.
Guess that makes you an even bigger oddball than we thought.
So, Alphen, have you gained anything from all of this?
Yeah. I think it's made me realize that the Lords were all people, too.
True.
Balsif and the others, they all had their own circumstances to deal with as they went through life.
Yeah, but still, just because they had loved ones in their lives doesn't mean...
I know. What they did was horrible. I'm not trying to dispute that. But at the same time, they weren't incomprehensible monsters either. They were individuals, just like the rest of us. So I guess what I'm trying to say is...
You're saying that they weren't bad because they were Renans, or because they were terrible monsters. Even if they did terrible things, they were still just people.
Rinwell.
Am I wrong?
Not at all.
Being a Danon doesn't make you a good person. And being a Renan doesn't make you a bad one. I think that's something we've all seen.
Shion and Dohalim definitely make a good case for it.
And I'm going to keep doing my best to make sure I earn that trust. As a fellow human being above all else.
Alrighty. Now that I can actually control where I'm looking again. Grip gel. Ooh. 2800.
What's this thing? There's something I just don't get.
What is it?
The crown contest itself has always gone ahead as planned, right? In which case, the current sovereign of Rena should be whoever it was that won the previous contest.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, who was it then?
Hanfricht Milgras, the former lord of Cislodia, if memory serves.
So then this Hanfricht whatchamacallem, he's the current ruler of Rena?
The last I heard, yes. Though, admittedly, I haven't actually seen him since the end of the previous contest.
You're saying that ever since becoming sovereign, he's never actually shown himself on Lenegus?
I guess over holocom maybe, but not in the flesh. Same thing goes for the sovereign that came before him.
Now that you mention it, I don't recall anyone ever visiting Lenegus from the motherland, sovereign or otherwise.
And that never struck you as a little bit odd?
Didn't question it.
When you live here, it's as if you're conditioned not to notice all these strange quirks and discrepancies. The question is then, by whom? And to what end?
A new Renis Alma is supposedly created to coincide with every crown contest, meaning each victor is awarded their very own. In other words, if that's true, there should be as many of the things out there as there have been contests.
True, but going on what we witnessed in Pelagian, it didn't look like the sort of thing that could be made to order. But if even the victor's speeches have been part of some grand deception, then where are they? Quite frankly, I'm not even sure what to believe anymore.
You and me both. Though we are Renan by blood, neither of us even knew that such a thing as a Dark Master Core existed, remember?
With any luck, the Forbidden Zone might give us some answers.
No use standing around here chatting about it then. Let's get a move on.
Let's see. What can I tell? Alright. We're gonna go this way. Just because either way, the door that I'm going to be at is up there, so this is the area that might get skipped. Didn't matter, there wasn't anything to see.
Doe?
Huh, Faria?
Faria.
Yep.
Varia? Isn't that the person that Abakir guy was...
But why are you here? Wait. Don't tell me you've given up on the crown contest and come crawling back home from Dana already. Nothing to say? Even though you were willing to kill Tarnigan to secure your position as Lord, you still... kill?
I'm here to take care of something. If you wish to continue this conversation, I only ask that you wait until I'm finished.
Oh, of course. You always did prefer to take the coward's way out. Even after 7 years and living on that Danon rock, you haven't changed one bit.
She's the screaming person that...
But let me tell you, I haven't changed either. Not a day's gone by the past 7 years that I haven't hated you.
She's the
If killing me
person
will bring you peace, then
that
so be
is
it.
screaming.
Dohalim, what the hell are you saying?
First, I have business to take care of. If it's vengeance you seek, I will grant you it. But you must wait. My sins are legion. Let me finish what I came to do. Then you have my word. I will let you do whatever brings you peace.
I had a feeling she would come into play.
Sure, that's it. Run away like always. You don't even have the courage to die. No wonder you leave it to someone else. You're just a coward!
Huh. Hey, if you're looking for her, she's behind you.
Dohalim.
I apologize that you had to witness that.
Is it true? What she said about you killing someone?
Each of us have our pasts. I am no exception.
Before, back in Menancia, you mentioned having taken a friend's life over the throne. Is that what she meant?
The mistakes I made there were not my first, and may not be my last. I will say no more.
Did you mean what you said? About letting her take your life if she wanted to?
She has more right to my life than anyone.
But you can't just...
Whatever happens, I have sworn to put an end to the crown contest, and to ensure continued coexistence in Menancia. I have no intention of expiring before I do so. There are far too many questions I still seek answers to. Besides, you have just as much reason to kill me as she does.
Dohalim!
Forgive me. Some things are best left unsaid.
The difference is that Kisara wants him to live. This lady has no idea that that fight with his friend strove for him to be, well, still kind of a traitor to Renans. Alrighty, well, now that we've learned quite a bit more about Renans in general, we're going to go ahead and put a pause in here, and when we get back, we will hopefully figure out how to get to the capital. Hey, there's an actual inn over there. Never mind, we're going to rush over to the inn, and then we'll stop. Make sure I don't miss any chests or anything, though. Because I like stuff. Alright, well, I don't like tofu.
Wow, this place is beautiful.
Yeah. It must be some sort of rest and leisure area for the locals.
You think? Man, these Renans sure know how to live it up, don't they?
Is something the matter, Dohalim?
Before I went down to Dana, my friends and I, we used to gather at this very spot and play music together. Avakir, Faria, and Tarnigan. That was a lifetime ago now.
Tarnigan. He was the one that Faria mentioned, right?
He was once my dearest, closest friend. As well as Faria's betrothed.
Oh. That explains why she has so much issue with him.
Despite Faria's lower-class upbringing, she possesses a tremendous talent for music. Entranced by her playing, I helped her overcome her sense of inferiority and introduced her to Tarnigan and Avakir. It was a time of great joy. 4 people bound only by their love of music, with no care for social standing. Only the next song, the next melody.
That sounds lovely.
A friendship based on mutual respect, and a society where everyone is a prisoner to their social class. You really are different, Dohalim.
I suppose it's natural you would see it as strange.
I would have, once. Now, I think the idea of breaking away from society's constraints And choosing your friends based solely on affection is something beautiful that's worth cherishing. Besides, it was that way of looking at the world that laid the foundations for coexistence in Menancia.
Which worked out very nicely up until...
Your praise does me too great an honor. I was merely following the wishes of my own heart. And even then, it only lasted until the crown contest began. After that, Tarnagan and I became fierce competitors for the position of Lord. Tarnagan had fallen for Faria. By becoming Lord, he aimed to wrest her from her humble origins and raise her to the highest echelons of society. But fate was not so benevolent.
What happened?
Tarnagan was no match for me in combat. On a level playing field, he wouldn't have stood a chance. But he was desperate and low on options, and he couldn't stand the thought of defeat.
You mean he resorted to dirty tactics to try to win, right? But then why does Faria think... Wait. Don't tell me she doesn't know.
She only saw the aftermath.
How could I tell her? Combined with the trauma of losing her beloved, and by her friend's hand, no less. She would have been devastated.
So instead you let her go on hating you, so she could use that hate as a crutch for her grief?
That's not the same as running away, though.
It is exactly the same. Unable to face the loss of my friend and the burden of my duty. Instead, I decried my fate and looked away from what I'd done. As for what happened after, that you already know.
But if you hadn't become Lord, Menancia wouldn't be what it is now. The Danans there would still be suffering under Renan oppression like before.
Shion's right. What other lord would have treated me as you did? Anyone else and I would have been dead long ago. You've saved so many people, Dohalim. You saved me. It's thanks to you that I'm here today. So, try not to blame yourself. The burden you've placed on your own shoulders is too much for anyone to bear.
Frank as always. But I shall do my best to heed your advice.
Do you think he'll be all right?
Yeah, I think so. He's got Kisara.
It's important to have someone like that.
I didn't realize how difficult it is just to be there for someone.
Sometimes just knowing someone's on your side can be enough. And he knows, Shion. I promise he does.
I hope you're right.
Uh-oh.
Alphen,
Yeah?
I never appreciated until recently just how much you were always there to support me.
It goes both ways. You helped me keep going more times than I can count.
Maybe, but I still wanted to say thank you.
I see a medic and supply officer over there. If they know you're with me, they'll likely offer their assistance.
Alright.
What do you say we check back in on the ranch?
Alrighty. A good place to stop. So, thank you very much everybody for watching so far. We have a little bit longer to go. We're going to put a pause in here. So, thanks so much for watching, guys. Hopefully you're having fun. Bye.